If that would have been my child in that car, I'd hope to God somebody had done the same thing.
A husband and wife team lend their helping hands and save the life of a Shawnee baby. This happy and heroic story tops our news at 10 o'clock.
Certainly does. If you thought heroes were only in the movies, you are wrong. Tonight, a 9-month-old baby girl is alive and doing well at Children's Hospital in Oklahoma City. Alive and well because 2 people jumped into action when they were needed most. Now at 6, we told you about the heroic efforts. Since then, the News Channel's Ray Preston has talked with this special couple. They say they're not heroes at all, but you couldn't convince the baby's family of that. Their story begins on a lonely road outside of Shawnee.
In the daylight, this road outside Shawnee does not look particularly dangerous. But last night, it almost killed 9-month-old Stormy McKinney. We went to the scene with Trooper Miles Mannion.
It was raining real hard and cold, and the water was running, and it was some confusion whether anyone was still in the vehicle or not.
Stormy was in a car on this road heading west outside Shawnee.
Right back up there at about those mailboxes, the water from the drainage ditch has jumped the bank and is covering the roadway. The driver overcorrects, flips over 2.5 times, skids across the road. The car eventually comes to a halt in this drainage ditch, upside down in several feet of water, and with 3 people still inside.
That's when Gordon Diffin and his wife Cathie drove up. With Stormy pinned in her baby seat in the upside-down car, he jumped in to help Stormy's uncle pull her out.
I felt around in there. I could feel the car seat. I could find the baby. I just couldn't get the seat unbuckled, or the straps unbuckled.
He had to cut through the seat belts using his pocket knife, a present he just got for Christmas. Diffin handed Stormy's limp body to his wife Cathie, who's a nurse. She began CPR.
We started CPR just I don't know, maybe 10 breaths or so. She started to gurgle and breathe on her own.
Stormy's family is now trying to get in touch with the Diffins.
I want to thank them for one thing, you know, because they saved her life.
Diffin says he's not a hero, but he realizes that what he's done is something special. He was so excited, he says he did not get much sleep last night.
Man, that was a baby. You don't hesitate for little kids.
You kind of bond with these people that you help rescue, or I found that we did, and we were very concerned about what happened to her afterwards.
I don't know. I don't have nothing to give them or anything, but you know, just pray that they have a good life.
Ray Preston, News Channel 4.
And more good news. We're told Stormy may be well enough to go home from the hospital in the next couple of days.
That's terrific. Tonight,
Merged in a ditch. Now, the child, we're told, spent several minutes under the frigid waters before 2 Good Samaritans finally pulled her free. A Shawnee couple is credited with saving the child, not only by pulling her from the wreck, but by breathing life into the unconscious child. They say they only did what any other people would do. 5 Alive's Ron Gosden has the story.
The water runs cold and fast in this ditch alongside a lonely Pottawatomie County road. Driving that road late last night, Robert McKinney and his sister Alinda. Behind them, strapped tight in a car seat, Alinda's 9-month-old daughter, Stormy.
There was the mother in the street hollering for help, and the other passenger was trying to pull the passenger's door open to get into the baby.
Gordon Diffin and his wife were on their way home that night when they made a frightening discovery. A car upside down in a rain-swollen ditch. Diffin immediately jumped into the waist-deep water to try and help.
I started looking around and I could see just a portion of the baby seat. So I reached in and grabbed it, and it was strapped in real good, and I couldn't find the release for the safety belt.
Using just a small pocket knife, Diffin cut the seat holding Stormy free and pulled her out of the water.
When you pulled the baby out, how did she look at the time?
Dead.
Really? Yes. She, no breathing, no, very blue in color, no noise, no movement, nothing.
Diffin's wife, Cathie, a licensed nurse, immediately began CPR. And after several long minutes, Stormy finally took a breath.
Had you not been there, or anybody like you that knew how to perform CPR, would Stormy McKinney have survived?
I don't think so. I think she was underwater too long. There would have had to be somebody who could help her, and we happened to be there.
Well, I just thank them as best I could, you know. If I had materialistic things, I would thank them with that, you know. But I'll pray for them, you know. That's the best I can do right now.
There's something about babies, you know. You try hard to say and do whatever you can.
Ron Gosden, 5 Alive News, tonight.
Well, Stormy McKinney spent several hours in the intensive care unit at Children's Hospital. Tonight, a hospital spokesman says her condition is listed as fair, and doctors believe she will be all right.
Boy, if that's not a miracle for the right people to show up at the right time, I don't know what is.
Very caring couple.
Yeah. Up next, we're going to check well at home tonight. Little Stormy McKinney is all smiles, and so's her mom. Both were passengers in a car driven by Stormy's uncle. It flipped over into a water-filled ditch last Tuesday. Stormy was trapped in her car seat underwater nearly 5 minutes before strangers rescued her. Her mother says a higher power is keeping an eye on her child.
It just felt like somebody was really watching over her, you know, because she recovered so fast, and every day she was gradually getting her strength back, and you could just tell God was just bringing her back.
Linda McKinney says when Stormy's a little bit older, she wants her to meet the couple who helped rescue her and brought her back from the brink of death. Boy, she's going to feel good when she meets those folks.
Something a little prophetic about the name Stormy in this case.
Yeah, isn't there? Yeah. There was a storm, and she almost lost her life, but a real miracle that saved her.
Cute little baby. That's a wonderful story. Vince is here now.
It is one of those stories that simply has to be told. A baby girl in danger of drowning after a car overturns her mother helpless. But two strangers come along and save the baby, then they disappear. Well, Inside Edition decided to try and find the heroes. Here's Scott Rappaport.
There isn't much danger in Shawnee, Oklahoma. But for 9-month-old Stormy McKinney, this quiet Oklahoma road nearly took her life. But two mysterious heroes turned this nightmare around and then disappeared in the night. Last January, these streets were flooded after a terrible rainstorm. Stormy, her mother, and her uncle were driving home cautiously. Suddenly, the uncle lost control of the car and it flipped, landing upside down in this ditch in over 3 feet of water.
The car rolled, and Stormy was in her car seat, and the car ended up upside down with her face underwater.
Both Stormy's mother and uncle escaped from the crushed car and immediately tried to pull the baby from her car seat.
The current was flowing towards her side, and it was keeping us from opening the door. And then by the time I got inside, it was so cold I couldn't feel her, and I couldn't feel the latch so I could undo it.
Linda McKinney, now panicked, her baby submerged underwater, ran to the road begging for someone to stop and help her trapped child. And that's when something miraculous happened.
When I swerved into the other lane, I could see somebody standing in the road. I stopped, and my wife got out of the car, and the woman said that her baby was trapped in the vehicle.
I was telling her that my baby was in the car and we couldn't get her out. And I was telling her to hurry because she was drowning. I thought I was doing something wrong, and God was punishing me for something I was doing wrong, and I couldn't think of anything. I just knew that I didn't want him to take my baby.
At that moment, Gordon and Cathie Diffin took charge. They knew they had to get the little girl out of the car. With a small pocket knife, Gordon hacked away at Stormy's seatbelt. But at first, it wouldn't cut loose.
So I reached in, I cut it again, and when I did, then I kind of pulled on the door and lifted the car seat, baby and all, out, rolled it over, and she was purple. She wasn't breathing. Her eyes were open, but they weren't moving. I looked at her, and I thought, he's giving me a dead baby is what he's giving me. And there was no breath. There was no heartbeat. She was purple, limp. It was like having a little rag doll.
No one knows how long Stormy was underwater, but as her great luck would have it, Cathie Diffin is a nurse, and she began breathing life back into this little baby.
I'd say maybe 2-3 minutes, and then she kind of gurgled and took a breath on her own.
The Diffins' quick action saved Stormy McKinney's life, and then, like reluctant heroes, while the ambulance rushed Stormy to the hospital, the Diffins simply disappeared, worn out from this life-giving miracle.
I was cold and wet. I wanted some dry clothes and a warm cup of coffee at that point. And then, so we went on home.
Stormy's mother didn't know who had saved her baby's life, but was determined to find out.
There's just nothing I can do to be thankful enough.
How are you? Inside Edition helped bring them together for an emotional reunion. For the first time since the near-tragic accident, the heroes came face to face with the little girl they saved.
Here, sweetie.
She'll probably go to Cathie.
It took place at the Diffin home. Stormy, her mother, and uncle had come to visit, accompanied by Stormy's grandfather, a Native American family, bearing gifts of gratitude.
I don't have any, a lot to give anybody, but I do have these. These are eagle feathers, and here's a permit for me to give them to you, for you to have them. These, I prayed over these this morning and smoked my pipe, and I asked for protection for you and your family.
Thank you very much.
In return, Gordon gave Stormy's grandfather something he can treasure for life. He gave him the pocket knife that cut Stormy free from the raging waters she was trapped in.
Keep it for her.
As a final gesture of thanks, Stormy's grandfather scattered tobacco ashes on the front lawn. He says this ancient Native American ritual will keep the heroic Diffin family safe forever.
Asking the Creator to watch over him.
I'm just glad to have been able to have some kind of a hand in this, some way, shape, or form, and that it turned out as good as it did from as bad as it was.
What a nice story. And we are pleased to report that Stormy has completely recovered and is doing great. And when we come back in just a moment, very bad news for Kim Basinger.